Hello, my name is David Avellan, and you're about to watch a webinar from the Kimura Trap 2.0 online, which is now available for order at kimuratrap.com/order. All you have to do to get access to the 6 DVD set, the 110-page book, the mind map, and the 2.0 updates all online is scroll down to the image you see below and click the button. And that will take you to the order page where you can complete the order. Thank you and enjoy the webinar. Okay, great. So, again, if you haven't been to one of my webinars, general procedure is I'm going to be going over techniques. So I'll describe a technique, I'll break it down, show it to you, and at the end of it, I will then give you opportunity to ask me questions about what I showed. Okay. Again, since there is that 30-second delay, if you get a question, you can go ahead and post it, all right, so that Don could give it to me as soon as I'm done and we can start fielding questions. Again, I'll try to get through as many questions as I can, but time is a constraint, so that's just a disclaimer. Okay. Other than that, you guys just post below there. Let me know if you're ready for me to start showing techniques. All right, if you're ready to get going and ready to start seeing some Kimura Trap stuff, post right there, and say yes, let's get started. And by the way, this is going to be Haruke, okay, Ray. He's going to be joining in with me. Okay, Don. You got people good to go or what?
Give me 1 second. I'm adding somebody right now.
Okay.
Ready.
All right. So we're gonna start off real basic. Okay. We're gonna be going over first just a basic guard Kimura. All right. I want to focus on a lot of the particular techniques and details to the Kimura that will come around and shape how I do Kimuras within the Kimura trap system as a whole. All right, so we're going to start off. I'll demonstrate first, then I'll break this down. Okay. All right, so what's happening here, all right, most of you, if you practice jiu-jitsu, have probably done the Kimura before. All right, so essentially the best time for me to Kimura when his hands are on the mat. So I'm going to circle, wax in, wax on, wax off, pull him with my guard so I get him to base on the mat. Once he does, boom, I'll start off and I'll grab his wrist, good grip, base my right elbow on the ground, and then I'll put my opposite foot, left foot, right on the ground here. Okay, so I'll make my base between my right elbow, left foot, and scoop back. Okay, you notice my hips slide back, all right? And this is gonna allow me, all right, to come with my shoulder directly over his shoulder so I can get a grip and look for my Kimura. Okay, now when I go for my Kimura, if you look at my hands, all right, I'm going to be doing a monkey grip, all right, or a gable grip style, no thumbs. There's going to be a hook right here. A lot of people grab with a thumb, okay? We're going to pretend we don't have opposable thumbs, all right? And we're just going to latch over with both hands. So I might have started by grabbing his wrist, but when I decide to go into the Kimura, I switch, boom. And, okay, this hand here will come inside over, hook. So I have two hooks, no thumbs in my grip whatsoever. Once I have this solid, I'm going to fall back, okay, and this is what a lot of people do wrong, black belts included, okay. I'm going to fall back at an angle, right here. If you notice, I turned 90 degrees, all right, so he's facing north, I'm facing west, okay, and I still have the Kimura. If you notice, my guard is not closed because I'm not using a guard. I have a leg hooked over his lower back, okay? And if I'll just switch sides real quick.
Stay with that.
On this side right here, this knee is going to be tucked into his hip. Okay, so I got one leg, lower back, other knee holding his hip. This is super important, okay, because the idea here is to put myself in a position where I have leverage and where I can control his body. Because when you lock on a Kimura, a lot of times people will try to flip. Go ahead. With this leg, I'm controlling him from going over to try to flip out. With this leg, right here, I'm preventing him from rolling over sideways. All right? Because if I have my guard closed, he can roll over, boom, like so, okay? And he'll escape, just like this. I might have gotten the mount, but not the submission. And in fact, I used this very same escape against Henry Gracie to get out of his Kimura. He had me in a super tight Kimura from a figure 4 guard, but because he had a figure 4 guard, there was no lateral control of my body. So I just rolled out, escaped, came back, and won the match. Okay, so when we apply the Kimura here, it's very important that this knee tucks in like this, lower back here. Okay, so this leg formation is important, and for leverage, I don't want to be here lined up with him. I want to have a 90-degree angle. Boom, here. Okay, so I'll switch sides so we can see the grip a little more now. Okay, so from here, I have my Kimura, all right? I want to have his elbow close to my chest. Okay, so this arm, if you noticed before, my shoulder was over his shoulder, okay? But I want to tuck in like so, okay? So that his elbow is very close to my body, his shoulder is getting pressure from my arm driving down on me, all right? Because if the arm is very loose like this, even though I have the arm kind of in a dangerous position, he's got a lot of mobility here and he can sort of swim his arm out. Boom, right here. Okay, even without cranking, when I put pressure like this, okay, if he goes to swim, he won't be able to swim here, all right? I might not Kimura him, but he's not swimming. His arm is stuck. And you know, that's a possibility for reverse arm lock there, okay? So, crushing the shoulder, keeping the elbow tight. Now, if you watch the first video, you know what's coming next, all right, which is the motorcycle grip. Right here, I'm just gonna roll this wrist, okay? Little detail, huge difference in the technique, okay? My goal, again, I'm turning his wrist, all right, just by twisting mine. So I'm not sort of sliding my hand around, I'm actually rolling his wrist here, and you can notice his arm changes. Like if you extend your hand, if you look at the orientation of his hand, all right, when I finish, I just turn his hand 90 degrees. Okay, so that puts his arm in a little bit more awkward position, puts me in a stronger position to apply leverage. Okay, so once I have this set, now I'm just bringing the hand across his head here, boom, okay? And you'll notice when you twist his wrist in the motorcycle grip, the tap comes quicker. Okay, when the Kimura is loose, all right, he goes here. When I tighten this up, boom, he's tapping a lot earlier because once again, when you rotate the wrist like this, it compromises his arm. Okay, so again, a lot of little details there. We'll run through them one more time, all right, again, because this is basic, all right. So, close guard. Bring his wrist down. Make my base between my elbow and my opposite foot, shoulder to shoulder. Make my Kimura grip, fall at an angle, boom. Legs controlling his hips, roll the wrist, okay, elbow tight to the body, boom, get the submission. Okay, so that there was the basic guard Kimura. All right, and we also incorporated some new concepts from the 2.0 version, mainly motorcycle grip. All right, it's something I didn't focus a lot in the past either. Was also immobilizing that shoulder, putting a lot of pressure in it. Okay, and also you know, just to get that real rotation on the arm. this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to post them now, okay? And you can post them under the webinar, the webinar post, all right, so that Don can check them out. And again, Don, you can write it in there as well.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys look out for Donald Linneman, all right? He's my admin right now. He's working Facebook, all right? So if he posts questions, all right, they're coming straight from me. Hey, Big Don, we have any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we don't get any more questions, or any questions really, if everybody's got this, we'll move on to the next technique.
They're saying that the stream is lagging.
Okay.
And now it's off. One person says that. Let me see. 2 people say that.
Okay, yeah, please let me know if the stream dropped.
It says it's back.
All right, it's back. Okay. Yeah, I apologize. All right. New webinar technology, the one I had before, the quality was real bad as far as visually, and I wanted to make a change. And also, I thought this was cool because I could put it on Facebook, but obviously some growing pains. All right. I will say that this is being recorded. Okay. So the recording will have all the frames. So if you missed any one part, again, I'll give you an opportunity to watch the replay. Okay. And if we don't have any questions, we'll continue. Don, we got anything?
No, sir. There's one question. Hold on.
Okay.
He says he has a question, but it just came on.
Okay.
Not sure if proper context.
Yeah, and let's keep the questions for right now related to the technique that I showed. All right, there will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar where it could be like a general question. But for right now, let's keep them targeted towards the techniques.
He's asking, when I go for a Kimura from half guard, the opponents defend easily.
Okay. Again, we're going to be going over, again, that's not from the guard. We will talk about that. Okay, so keep that question ready. When we do the open Q&A, I'll answer that question for you. All right, for right now, we'll just keep it targeted. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue moving on. All right, I think everybody knows the guard Kimura. So we're going to move on next. And I've sort of, this technique, I haven't shown it yet. I call this, it's a Kimura variation from side control, which is a shoulder crush. And it's actually changed the way that I approach attacking Kimuras from side mount. Previously, I always told people step over the head and go into Kimura / armbar, head scissors, all that. Now I go Kimura shoulder crush and then move to stepping over the head. So I like this because it's less risk involved. You don't have to give up anything. You're staying tight in a controlling position. Okay, so without further ado, let me show you how that looks.
Okay, questions. One request. Ross Fleming asks, can you go over the motorcycle grip again? And then Marco Montiera is asking the difference between your lock with the leg or going to omoplata.
Okay, let's get through. Motorcycle grip's important, all right? So I want to make sure that we got that. All right, so Don, if you could see that the camera angle, we're good here. All right, so motorcycle grip. I'm here, okay, Kimura grip, and no thumbs. Now, open your hand up. So if you see his hand orientation and look at mine, right there, that's motorcycle grip. All it involves is I'm flexing my wrist inward, okay? And as I do that, when I have a tight grip, it's going to turn his wrist also, okay? And when you do this with a partner, he'll immediately feel pressure on his shoulder and his arm. It's very uncomfortable, okay? But it also weakens him significantly. Because right here, if he does a tricep extension hard, I have a hard time controlling him. If I roll this wrist, he does a tricep extension, there's barely any resistance for me. I can easily beat him from this position. Okay, so this is motorcycle grip. And with nearly every Kimura that I do now, I use this grip. I don't stay here. I always go to roll it. Okay? So that is motorcycle grip. Now regarding omoplatas, you back up a little bit? In this position here, okay, if you wanted to switch to the omoplata, maybe he was grabbing his shorts or whatnot, you could, all right? Because all I gotta do, all right, if I give up on this, it just work my leg over his shoulder, all right? And my other leg, it's not attached to, I'm not closing or anything like that. It's holding against his hip, all right? So you could imagine it like when you do a butterfly guard omoplata, you know, I could just sort of push away a little bit. I might need to let go of this, you know, particularly this hand, so I can actually turn, you know, so I could turn here, come in this way, okay, and work my way up, bring myself to the side, and finish. It's not the easiest or most like flowiest technique because you do have that bottom leg on the opposite side that has to travel. Actually, I saw a video from Kid Dale that he had actually a real nice setup that's more conducive to switching to omoplata. Where I forgot what he called it. You go on your fours?
From the fours?
No, like when you're here, I'll be honest, I didn't pay full attention to it. But essentially it's coming this way, okay? So I have the Kimura here, but I have both legs over. So if he tries to posture or anything, I could sort of straighten out. That would be a position more conducive to omoplatas. And if you haven't checked out his page, you could check out Kid Dale BJJ. He has some cool stuff, funny guy, and he has a good video on that particular omoplata Kimura trap setup, or Kimura setup rather. Okay, so those are those two questions. Okay, let's move on. All right, to the shoulder crush now. So he's gonna go on his back. I'm gonna demonstrate the technique, and then we'll break it down. All right, so doesn't look like much happened there, okay? But what we're doing is we're attacking this part of the shoulder and not focusing so much on rotating. If you watch this, I'm controlling his wrist, okay? I have it tight, and now I'm just gonna push directly over his shoulder, okay? It doesn't look like much, but it's actually devastating, all right? And this is why I call it a shoulder crush. Because I'm just putting pressure directly on top of his shoulder and keeping his wrist pinned to his side, and that will create the submission. All right, so it's a different way of attacking the shoulder. Normally, you know, we're used to doing this, okay? Now we're just doing this, all right? But the key is pressure. So I'll set up my Kimura like I normally would, okay? So I'm here, side control, you know, I see the wrist, I grab it, I come under, grab it, and I am motorcycle gripping, all right, from the top. If you watch my hands here, I'm gonna put my knuckles on the mat, here, okay? So that's how the motorcycle grip looks from top position. And if you see his hand right now, extend your hand. So it's flat, I roll, now I've turned it 90 degrees. That's our goal with motorcycle grip. Ideally, you want his hand 90 degrees rotated. That puts him in the weakest position to defend the Kimura. Okay, so right from here, once I have this grip set up, my right elbow, I can wedge it on the side of his hip, could put it over his shoulder. Usually it's best on the hip, on the side, okay? And now, in a good side control, you're normally chest to chest, right here, all right? For the shoulder crush, I transfer my weight here. So from the center of your chest, from your sternum, usually your sternum to sternum, I'm just gonna move my weight here. And I'm gonna focus that same type of side control pressure, but just over his shoulder. So I get here, here, I shift my body weight a little bit, and now I just drop here. Boom. Okay? And depending on your frame and your balance, it'll be a little different for you. You know, like sometimes I like walking a little bit towards almost like a north-south, and then dropping. That's for me the optimal angle for me, but it's always different. I could still finish it right here, okay? For me, when I get a little bit off to the side, I get to drop most of my weight on that shoulder. And that's all it is. I'm extending my chest. Out here, like I'm gonna rip my shirt off. Boom. All right? And that forward pressure goes on his shoulder. And you see, although it doesn't look like there's a lot of motion, every time you do this to somebody, it's like, it feels horrible, okay? And that's the starting point, all right, so shoulder crush. So the way now that I would attack a Kimura offense for side control, all right, I would go here, all right, and I would shift and crush there. If for whatever reason I couldn't finish the crush, and sometimes if the guy is super flexible or the Gumby, you might not be able to generate enough pressure here, then I'll go to step 2, which is a high Kimura. If I'm right here, boom, right? You notice, if you look at my arm, I use his forearm almost like a fulcrum, and I'm shifting like this, okay? But if you watch what happens with him, look how he sits up. He's sitting up to relieve pressure, okay? So if I hold him down, okay, you see how that gets that tap right away? So I'm still putting shoulder pressure, but now I'm just gonna add this lift. Okay, so when I get here, I'm lifting up my rear elbow using his arm as the fulcrum. Boom, getting the tap there. If that didn't work, and I still couldn't get the tap, then my next step would be to come over and then bring him to his side. And then this is what we covered in the Kimura Trap DVDs. Elbow to my chest. I could finish here. I could finish with the arm bar. Drop to the head scissors. All that. Okay? So that was the shoulder crush from top side control. All right? So the major strategy change really is, rather than going straight to stepping over someone's head, I first try to crush the shoulder. Then I'll try turning the shoulder into high Kimura, and then I'll step over. So stepping over is the last resort. All right, so if there's any questions on the shoulder crush technique, go ahead and post them. And Don, if you could write that in as well.
Yes, sir.
And if you enjoyed this shoulder crush technique and learned something new, go ahead and post that as well, all right? All feedback is valuable to me. I need to know if I'm doing a good job of this. All right, so please give me some feedback. Let Big Don know how the webinar is going for you. And in the meantime, while I wait for you guys to put out your questions, next technique we're going to do is actually a tweak on the step over Kimura. Okay, so I know that like I just said right now, that's like for me the last resort, and the reason why is just there's less control when you step over, because you sort of lift weight off your opponent and allow them. A lot of people turtle, a lot of people roll the other way, and you sort of lose that control. So I made some adjustments to the step over Kimura so that I know I can immobilize him and get a better position. Go ahead.
Ross Fleming would like to know, well, first Angie Lilly says that she loves it. Ross Fleming would like to know, what is your favorite setup to get the arm locked into the shoulder crush?
Okay, great question. All right, so let me go ahead and we'll do that. So if he's on his back, I pass the guard, I'm in side mount, we're here. Normally people don't just leave their arms dangling for you to catch. All right, if we're in a grappling situation, usually he's either trying to push here, or maybe he's trying to make an underhook here, okay, to help come out the back, or just to escape his hips better here. All right. So if he is over my arm, meaning that I have the underhook, all right, and maybe he's even being more of a staller and he's locking his hands. Okay, so he's locking his hands here, right? He's not worried about points or anything like that. He just doesn't get submitted. So what I'm going to do is this. Here. Boom. Okay, so what's happening here, he locks his hands. I'm going to make a frame, all right, across with the blade of my forearm over his chin, ideally like so, where I could turn his head out. Whenever you could turn someone's head off to the side, it puts a lot more pressure on them, okay? So here, and then my other hand will put pressure on the back of his elbow, towards the tricep, not on the forearm, on the tricep right here. So I'm here, and now I drive my head across. All right? You'll create a lot of pressure there. It's going to be very hard for him to hold on to that. All you need to do is get your arm in. If you don't have your arm in there and I just do this, it's not going to be enough. Here, boom. Now, if you notice, I put my head on the mat because I want to pin his arm. If I break the grip and then stay here, he can swim his arm around, bring it to this side, okay? And then it's going to be harder to get that Kimura. So when it gets here, I break, I put my hand on the ground. His instinct might be to try to go up, right? To come under my head. But if I close that space, he won't get it. So right from here, okay, now I can go to the wrist. And depending on where he bends his arm, gives me a different option. If he bends up, it goes into paintbrush territory, right? If he bends down, all right, then he might be in straight arm lock territory. But if he curls his arm in, okay, now he's in Kimura territory. All right, so if I broke the grip and he tried to come up, right, I grab the wrist, he turns his arm down, I'll just keep my head on his elbow, okay, so that even without grabbing, he goes to move around, okay, arm stuck. And I'm not doing that for long, just for like a split second. So when I went from here, he bent his arm down, I had this pin, boom. And then I switch here. Okay, so that would be my setup for him with an overhook. Trying to squeeze or just whenever he has an overhook. I use my head to pin, look for the wrist, I'll pin again with my head on his elbow this time, and then switch hands. Boom. Okay? Setup number 2 is if you had an underhook, okay, and I wanted to get a Kimura, all right, all I'm going to do, I'll wing this arm back behind me, okay, like so, and then with my armpit, I'm going to drop all my weight on them. Here, boom, okay, we turn this way, he gets a deep underhook, I go behind his legs, all right, and generally I sort of hook my hand up behind his knee, and then I'll sprawl my right leg. And I'm focusing all my weight on his elbow. So right now, if he tries to turn into me, okay, he'll have a hard time, and his arm is jammed, so he doesn't have any leverage on that underhook. From here, I start to circle towards the north-south position, all right, and I'm going to look for the opening to sneak my hand in right here. So let's angle off like this now. So I'm in here, okay? I'm making sure his knees don't turn into me by holding his legs in, putting my weight on his elbow, and I circle towards the north-south. And as I do, I start making a little space here. I use a fist, okay, a little modified fist, and sort of grind my way in till I get inside. Once I'm in there, now I can get here. And if you notice, I'm in a Kimura, all right? And depending on where I want to go, you know, I could step over, all right? Or if I wanted to crush, I can move the hand off to the side, okay? Oh, sorry about that, okay? And get the tap there. Okay, so those would be 2 ways of And pretty much those are the two things that are going to really happen, really. Either he's over your shoulder, all right, and then we immobilize the head, or he's under your shoulder, and then we immobilize the lower body and his elbow.
We have another question here from Marco Montero.
Okay.
Asking, when you pass the leg, do you sit on his head?
Okay. No. By pass the leg, I'm assuming you mean stepping over. Okay. When I come like this, here. All right. This is actually a good question because it sort of segues into what we're going to do now. All right. So I'm going to answer your question, Marco, but I'm going to demonstrate this technique because this is an area that we're going to be talking about now. All right. So slide in a little bit this way. So as I said before, if I'm in side control, I isolate the arm into the Kimura grip. I look to shoulder crush. If I can't shoulder crush, I try to rotate the arm here in a high Kimura. I can't get that. Okay, then I step over. And if you watch the technique as I step over, here, okay, tight. Okay, so now this is not the only way of doing it. This is one way. Am I sitting on his head right now? Yes. Okay, but it's not so much to sit on his head. What I'm focused on is controlling his shoulder once again. If you go against a guy who's real spazzy and you step over like the traditional way, at least the way I learned it, I step here and pull. There's a lot of space here, okay? And when most people, when they step, I see it all the time because it happens to me as well, is that the bottom guy rolls to his fours right away. So I have the Kimura, but we're like this. Okay, and when he's on his fours, you're not going to submit him with the Kimura. Although we have our Kimura trap setups where, I can fall back, and bring him in to the whole TV position, it's more work for me. I want to try to take as few steps as possible. Okay, so, the thing that I realized is that stepping over has to be tight. Okay, the tighter it is, the less movement he has. So when I step, I'm always thinking about how I'm going to control this area. Because his weight to his fours is his shoulder has to come all the way through to his fours. Okay? So it's got to do a 180. If I'm not interfering in that path, he's going to get there and it's going to require me more work. All right? So, two things. I could step over with my right leg, okay? Here, boom, on my knee. So where's my weight? It's still on him. All right? And then from here, I'll bring my right leg up, shin across his rib cage, okay? And slowly bring him to the side. And as I do, I'm driving my hips into his shoulder here. All right? So from this position, when he tries to go to fours, okay, it's very hard because if you look at my legs, they're pinching his shoulder. Okay? And by consequence, I'm sitting on his head, so it sucks for him, all right? But I'm keeping that shoulder in check. And I'm still at a very good angle to finish the Kimura here. So the leg positioning is a little different than what I covered in the DVD. I still do the out one, but this is just one option, okay? I could also step. Okay, so I have the Kimura here. I step my left leg on the foot, okay? And then as I step over, I gotta know that a good guy's gonna turn. So I'm not gonna yank him into me right away. All right, I don't wanna go here, because then I'm sort of giving him the momentum he needs to power through to his fours. All right, so all I'm doing right now, when I go here, I step. My weight's still on him. He tries to turn, okay, he's not going anywhere. The coming up is controlled, okay? The coming up is controlled here, all right? So, and to help prevent that, I'm gonna keep my hips moving into his shoulder. Here, boom, okay? Now if you see here, again, I have my hips driving, all right? So I'm putting pressure with my hips, and I'm keeping the arm in check. He goes to turn to his fours, boom, difficult. Because usually the problem is that you're too excited to turn him over and you do it all in one motion. Okay, so particularly when you step over his head, don't yank him to the side right away. Hold him and then slowly ease him up as you keep your hips pressed into his shoulder. If there's anything that you capture in this technique, keep that shoulder in check. Don't allow him to rotate freely. You're always putting weight against that shoulder so that he doesn't have as much mobility. Okay, so those are some tweaks from the Kimura Trap 2.0, all right, regarding side control attacks. So we went side mount Kimura shoulder crush, then we went high Kimura, all right, then we did step over Kimura. All right, any questions on those techniques? Go ahead, post them below.
We have some questions from the shoulder crush from earlier.
Okay.
We have Michael Beatty is asking, when transitioning from sternum to shoulder crush position, is there any risk of moving too far forward and the opponent escaping, or do you have freedom to find that sweet spot?
Okay, so again, question is, when you're shifting your body weight to do the shoulder crush, are you worried about losing control or positioning? All right, let's go ahead and adjust that. So when I have this here, okay, and assuming all is well, if I overcompensated or I drove my weight too high and went like this, technically you should still be all right. All right. If I'm here and he tries to go anywhere, it's going to be tricky. Again, granted, I'm bigger than Ray, all right, so I do have a weight advantage. But whenever you have this arm controlled, okay, and I'm putting weight somewhere here, he doesn't have a lot of moving options. Like go to turn, all right. He can't go this way. I mean, the only way he could try to turn, rather, is this way. He can't go that way without hurting himself, okay? Because if he turns away from me, he's Kimuring himself, okay? So, and again, if all my weight's focus upper body, his hips might bounce, but since I'm not on his hips, see, if I'm all here, he could bounce his hips all day, and I'm good. I'm not really moving. So you're right there. The only thing I would worry about is if you put your weight too far here, you know, like this, he might try to like dumbbell fly you, bridge you completely over this way, okay? Which is kind of unlikely. I've never had that happen to me, ever, like period. So, yeah, and I wouldn't see you putting your weight so far up like this, because this is like completely wrong, all right? Your weight shift is just here. If I went a little higher than here, it's pretty harmless. You know, I gotta just readjust again. Okay, so no, there's no real concern, at least for me, as my weight distribution. And as far as you're keeping your weight anywhere in this vicinity, one, you should be able to get the shoulder crush. Two, your balance should be very stable.
A couple people are asking if the stream is going to be, if the webinar is going to be available later, and how.
Okay, so webinar is being recorded through my computer, so we should have a feed that's uninterrupted. Okay, so if you are getting, you know, glitches of audio or video, I apologize. You know, it's the nature of the beast, but we will have the webinar saved. It will actually be hosted on the same service, so you should be able to watch it once I re-upload it. Okay, so give me like a day or two after the webinar is over and, you know, everybody's done with the orders and whatnot, and it should be back online. And I will email the link to everybody who's been on the webinar and who's on the list.
And that's all for the questions.
Okay, great. All right, so moving right along now, we'll go into basic Kimura trap setup, okay, and some of the tweaks that we're doing from the TV position, okay. so this one here. Don, watch me in the camera here. Am I still
No, sir. You're half cut off.
half cut off? Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need you to adjust that.
Okay.
Just hold the camera in your hand, yeah, in this case.
You
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do a basic Kimura trap setup, which is from the hand tie single leg. This is the one that was all over YouTube a couple years ago, right? This is the one that is very popular. Recently, Keenan Cornelius hit this on, ACC legend Dean Lister in the Absolute Division, and he took his back with it. All right, textbook Kimura trap. So this is the one that that started it all. So it's gonna happen. I'll demonstrate in full speed. It's a single. Okay, and we end up right here, which is what we call the TV position. And the reason why we call this a TV position, we pretend there's a TV in front of us. Ray's sitting on my lap like my baby, and I'm just chilling here on my side. Okay, so this is why we call it TV position. All right, Kimura trap sprung. All right, so starting from the feet again. What's gonna happen here? He shoots the head inside single leg. Boom. All right, immediately I want to stuff the head. Okay, so I'll use one hand. Boom, stuff the head. Then immediately replace that with my chest. Okay, so I move my chest. Boom, right here over his back. So I want my chest glued to his back. Boom. Okay. Now I should be making my Kimura almost simultaneously. So if we were here, single leg, boom, stuff, bam. This arm goes through. This hand grabs his wrist. Okay, if I move the grip here, I'm coming through the arm. On this side, this hand's grabbing his wrist or hooking, and then I'm hooking my own wrist. So if you let go real quick, I have a Kimura right here. Okay, so again, he's grabbing here, everything's set. Okay, now, a few things. The further his hands are from his body, the weaker the Kimura. Meaning if he straightens his arms out, you see how my grip is weakened? I'm on my fingertips. Okay, so even from here, we're motorcycle gripping. Boom, I'm rolling my wrist. Okay, he tries to straighten his arm now, it's tougher. Okay, and the more support I can give my wrist, the better. All right, so I want, in this case, when you're setting it up for the single leg, you're not trying to finish the Kimura just yet. You're trying to keep his arm tight to his body. All right, because this is what you're more worried about him breaking out before you actually get the chance to submit him. So boom, 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 boom. Okay, so my goal is to try to bring his hands towards me, inside. This leg here is on a hook, okay, right behind the bend of his knee. Here, boom. All right. And now from here, I'm gonna sit and try to bring my butt to my right heel. And when my butt hits the ground, I'm gonna kick and bring him over. Here, boom. Okay. And now, when we throw him, immediately, as we're landing, I'm gonna turn to my side, and then this is a little bit of a tweak on before. If you watch, boom, right here, bringing my knee to my elbow and controlling right there. Okay, my Kimura grip remains the same. I'm trying to keep his arm, tricep, and elbow away from touching anything. Okay, so I don't want it touching the mat. I don't want it touching me. So when I grab this now, I extend out this way. So I'm keeping his arm bent like an L, all right? And I'm keeping everything from this arm from touching. So it's here, boom. At the same time, I'm bringing my right knee almost to my right elbow, like I'm putting his head in a vice and creating pressure. And this was a good revelation for me, because if you watch this, if he goes to turn either side, even with no Kimura grip, all right, he can't turn anywhere. All right, because once again, what are we doing? Shoulder control. This leg is blocking the far shoulder. This elbow is blocking the near shoulder. If I just block one side, turn, he'll turn that way. If I just block this side, he'll turn the other way. So blocking both shoulders, okay, he's got no way to turn. So if you notice, there's a theme with all the new discoveries that in the Kimura Trap 2.0, which is shoulder control. All right, the more we pin down the shoulders, better control we have of the person's body. All right, so we combine that with the Kimura Trap positioning. And again, one of the main details here is keeping this back part of his tricep, all right, away from your body or the mat. If you can put that arm on the ground or against me, which is more common, where he'll rest on your arm, and I have this tight, he can use that as a point of balance and then turn into me. Okay? It'll still be hard for him to come all the way up, but it gives him the opportunity. If that arm is not there, now he goes to get up, he can't start to turn. All right? So that is a fundamental importance of this TV position. You want to try to slow him down. Generally, you don't hold the guy here forever. Okay, the goal is that when he does turn, boom, that I come around and I can take the back right here. But if you have no control of him and he turns too fast, I won't have the opportunity. Okay, so there's still things I can do, but my options are limited now. Okay, so ideally full control. And this vice grip right here, combined with the Kimura Trap grip, make this position very difficult to escape. Okay, I keep his hand away, I keep his shoulders pinned. Now he turns either way. Okay, and I have him stuck in a leg chuck. Okay, and usually on this scenario, the side that's you're gonna feel the biggest difference is here. Because normally when I control with the Kimura grip, this shoulder is already pretty well controlled, right? Because of the Kimura pressure. He's usually not turning this way, right? Like if he turns to his right, go ahead, like he's gonna hurt himself here, give me an easy finish. So usually you're worried about the guy turning this way, go ahead. And then that's the side you're trying to slow. So just by adding this knee over his shoulder, okay, and keeping pressure moving across, okay, when he goes to turn now, okay, that shoulder gets snagged by my knee. So it's going to make it much harder. He power rolls hard. Okay. He might get over eventually, but very slowly, which gives me more time to catch him, either with an arm bar, head scissors, back take, all that. Okay, so that was the basic Kimura Trap setup from the hand side single leg. Again, if you have any questions on some of the tweaks that I've made, let me know. And again, if you have any feedback, comments, if you loved it, if you hated it, go ahead, post them on there so I know your opinion. Donnie, what time is it?
It is 8:59.
Okay, cool. Okay, again, if you have any questions, you have any comments, please put them up there. Did you write it in as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And again, if you guys are ready to move on, please post a comment there and a reply so I know to keep pressing forward. Yeah, if I don't hear anything, I just hear crickets chirping. I'm not sure if anybody's watching, okay, or anybody's paying attention. So please post some comments on there. All right, even if it's just continue, yes, keep going, just so I know that everybody's on board.
Russ Fleming says the detail is really nice. David Branch says good stuff.
Okay, cool.
And Ross is excited that this is free.
All right, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, Ross. Okay.
Marco Montero would like to know, can your opponent escape
sliding down like in the crucifix?
Okay, great question. All right, so yeah, Mark Montero's question is, sure, the guy can't roll left or right, but can he move away from you and escape? And it's a yes and a no. All right, so when I'm here, and you very astutely recognize that this is when you do this vice grip, it's similar to crucifix in the sense that his neck is crunched up, right? If he starts to slide away from me and I stay put, then yes, he could escape. When his head makes contact with the ground, all right, there is a possibility that he could backflip his way there. I'm not sure if Ray's got it in him. Okay, there you go, yeah. Okay, so that is a possibility, particularly with somebody who's very flexible and Gumby-like, all right, that can happen. When you have the TV position properly, it really can't without him being a contortionist. Because if you see the way his neck is, if Ray tried to bring his hips over right now, it would be like he's crucifixing himself. Because he's going to crunch his head over my hip. All right? So when you're holding the position here, you're okay. When you feel him slide away, all right, and when the head touches the mat, you're in a danger zone in the sense that you're losing control and you're one moment away from him escaping. Likewise, if you have the Kimura, even if he flips over, he's still in some danger because the arm is going to be cranked. All right. So if the arm was loose like this, he would tap himself out. Don't flip, yeah, because you'll tear your shoulder out. If he was holding on or locking his hands, then he would be putting himself in a dangerous position, but there's a possibility of escape. All right. So what you want to do, come back up, is one, if you feel him start to slide away, I can slide in, and I could keep more pressure pulling inwards here, like this. So he starts to slide.
Can't move.
He can't move, right? So now I'm really vicing him up. I'm really pinching this so that his head can't slide. And if his head can't slide, the rest of his body is not going anywhere. Okay? So again, if you put a lot more pressure and you see my elbow will come up, almost like digging into his chin so that he can't move his head. Now, if you can't stop that and he slides his head out, then I move on top. And that's the easiest thing you can do, really. And when you move on top, you'll instantly be in a position where you can crush the shoulder. Okay? Right now, actually, my weight's a little high. I'll just adjust it a little bit. Boom. Hit the top. All right? So, again, if the guy is here, he starts squirming out like a worm. Right away, when I feel the head slide off, I'm just going to put my right foot on the ground. I'm using the bottom of my arm here as a post, and I'm just going to move my hips over here. Boom. And right now, I'm doing a mean move, all right, which is I'm laying my hips across his jawline, all right, which is going to crunch his neck, all right. And it's going to also make it very difficult for him to turn or to bridge when all my body weight is focused right on his neck. And I will still have the Kimura, so I want to be in a good position to crank. All right? But essentially, if you're going against somebody who likes to squirm around a lot, you got to be ready to come on top. He slides away, boom, up. Okay? Again, all I'm doing, if you move off a little bit, I'm here. If I'm just shadowing this, foot here, and I can use my head here, up. So I'm bringing this bottom hip, because right now my hips are like this. So I got to come here, square my hips to the mat. And then I can drop them or apply pressure or however I choose. Okay? So that's good. That was if the person tried to slide out of the Kimura trap TV position.
Ralph Jason wants to know if it is possible to transition from crucifix to the TV position or vice versa.
Okay, so I'm sorry about that. Okay, transitioning from the crucifix to the Kimura trap or Kimura trap to the crucifix, yes, you can. All right, it's actually covered in the first DVD set. All right, I'll show you the transition real quick. If I have the Kimura trap here, okay, and I want to get the crucifix, it's a matter of just fishing his limbs out. For example, here I need to catch this arm. Okay, so if I see the arm loose, I'll use my heel and dig into the pit of his elbow and scoop it out. Boom. And if we turn like this and then straighten your legs, you'll notice we come again. Put your arm out. I'm here. If I see an opening for it, okay, I'm here. Boom. I look to hook right there, scoop it, figure four. And notice I lock it down, and my figure four is behind his elbow, close to his shoulder. All right, so when I have that, that's half of the crucifix. The second half is simply bringing the Kimura to my ear. All right, if you look at the hands, boom. Okay, so all I did, I kept the grip, I moved the grip behind my head, and when my left hand is ready to grab, I clasp the back of my neck, the nape of my neck, with my hand right here. And now, both his limbs are locked. He starts trying to move around, okay? I'm in a good position to throw elbows. And legs straight, here. And if I was here, if I wanted to go vice versa, all I would have to do is look for this arm, right? And it's not really going anywhere. It's stuck there. So if I'm here, I'm throwing elbows, I'm done, grab, boom. Okay? And now I wouldn't let go of this arm, okay? Because this is a bonus, all right? So I'll just keep this, and I can work my Kimura trap from here. And technique that I really haven't shown, but that I've done a couple times, is a crucifix with the Kimura, all right? All I would do is I would turn and bring my hips square to the mat, okay? So I'm here, boom, okay? And now he tries to go anywhere, he's stuck, boom. Okay, so this is a real nasty move, right? A lot of neck pressure, and I have the Kimura, it's a done deal, okay? So, yes, you could do the Kimura, TV position to crucifix, and you can go crucifix to TV position.
Ross Fleming would like to know when he can get a Kimura Trap 2.0 shirt.
Okay, again, once we do the release at the end of the webinar, you'll get the, I'm going to give everybody the link so they can order the DVD set, okay, and they can order the upgraded online version, the Kimura trap, and everything else. Okay, so that we'll put that at the end of the webinar.
That's it for the questions.
Okay, great. So we've covered some of the basics for the Kimura. We went into side control Kimuras, okay, shoulder crush, high Kimura, step over Kimura. We did the Kimura trap from the single leg, TV position, and just now covering Kimura to crucifix, crucifix to Kimura. Okay, so one last thing that I will leave you with, okay, as far as upgrades to the 2.0 edition, is using shoulder crush from the TV position. Okay, so this is another one that will actually really change the dynamic of the Kimura trap, particularly the TV position. Guys who, once you put someone in the Kimura trap multiple times, they sort of understand how the trap works, and they're a lot more defensive, and it makes hunting for the submission a little bit harder. Or when you're going against someone who's very athletic, and maybe you're not, and they have a lot of explosive power, and they fly around everywhere, you might, even though you're doing all the technique right, they're just too strong for you. This adjustment that I'm going to show you here, all right, is going to neutralize them, just like the shoulder crush does on the side mount. Okay, so let me go ahead and show you how that looks like. We're going to start from the TV position. And that's it. All right, very simple. All I'm going to do, I call this the hand pin, is get the hand on the mat right there. Once I do that, he is stuck. If Ray goes to turn to get on top of me, there's no turning. If he goes the other way, Kimura is almost finished. Okay? So, again, the whole theme behind Kimura Chop 2.0, shoulder pressure. Okay? Killing the shoulders. And what happens here, alright, if I have the TV position and I'm trying to keep the arm bent in, what a lot of guys have figured out is that they're able to straighten their arm out. Like this, I lose control of the grip, and now he can muscle up and turn into me hard and rip the arm out. Just pull it out. Yeah. Okay, because once that arm goes straight, you're sort of at the end of your rope. So, what I've figured out is that when the arm goes straight, go ahead, I put it on the mat right away. Okay? And now, even though you can see his arm, it was not quite straight, but it's almost straight. What I'm going to do is that I'll keep the hand pinned, and then with my armpit, elbow, shoulder, whatever is there, I put pressure on top of his shoulder. And I try to generate as much pressure as possible. So he goes here, he flexes the arm out, boom. Right now it's like my armpit, okay? Now when he starts trying to come over, okay, once again, we have that shoulder crush situation. And he gets stuck right about here. Okay, so again, keep going, go. Yeah.
It's gonna blow my shoulder.
Yeah, okay, so he's stuck there. So once I have this, I don't need to try to come over this one anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk over, and as I walk, I'm going to keep weight on this right here. Ideally on the shoulder, but here is fine as long as you're keeping the weight in the shoulder vicinity, okay? So you get here, I put weight, I come up this way, and I start walking here. Okay, now I'm like in the north-south. He tries to come up, he's still stuck. Okay, now from here, I can shift my weight and focus it on his shoulder, right there, okay? And again, right now he's about to tap, boom. Okay? So, shoulder crush from the TV position, all right? But even without the shoulder crush, if I'm just like this, he tries to get up, but he can't, all right? And look what I'm doing here, shoulder to shoulder, elbows in the armpit, I'm here, okay, high Kimura, all right, and all the same principles. Remember, whenever you Kimura someone from top, what they want to do is sit up. When I start doing this, here, let's see where you're at, and just react defensively. That's what he's want to do. He wants to move up, because the more up he goes, he relieves pressure from this rotation. So shoulder crush takes advantage of that by keeping the shoulder down. And even doing something as simple as this right here, okay, the reason why this works is because he can't move his shoulder up, okay? And as I start to crank there, you know, it just takes a little bit of pressure and it's done, all right? Now, if there's no attack here, I can keep pressure there, but he could turn into me, right? Like this, all right? So that's where the hand pinning is important. Go back on your back. When I do this, okay, now it's a bit harder. He tries to turn in, okay, he gets halfway, okay, and then he gets stuck halfway. And the more pressure you put on this arm, okay, when I go here, okay, and I elevate at the elbow, now it gets even harder. He tries to come up, boom. Yeah. So it's a combination of all those things that makes this position effective, okay? So from the top, I'm here, okay? Arm extends, or even if the arm doesn't extend, I just feel the arm is loose. He's not conscious of it, okay? Boom, I transfer it to the mat, pin it. You notice my bottom arm is underneath his elbow, okay? So I'm getting a little tweak on the leverage. And then I keep pressure over his shoulder with my arm, all right? From here, he's stuck. He tries to turn, okay? he's jammed here. Okay, so 3 things, right? Pinning the wrist, elevating the elbow, pressure over the shoulder. Okay, I can start to walk away, and as I walk, I want to be careful because if I remove too much weight from his arm, like right there, he can turn now. All right, so as I walk away, I gotta keep weight on that shoulder. So I come in here, right? And once I get that north-south position, you see he's ready to go. Turn a little bit, boom, done. If I'm not right here, usually I'll take it right there. If not, I can shift, get back here, okay, finish there, all right. But essentially, you'll have change from the TV position into top side control. Okay, so sorry about that. All right, so shoulder hand pin from the TV position. All right, this is probably for me one of the biggest game changers in 2.0 is the whole concept of pinning the shoulder. Okay, from all the different positions, from the closed guard, from top side. Okay, from all these even TV position, by controlling the shoulders, you're really going to immobilize him, and it also makes submitting him much, much easier because he's not able to relieve pressure by moving either which way. Okay, so if anybody has any questions on this hand pin for the TV position, go ahead, post them now. And also let me know the time.
Yes, sir. It is 9:17.
Okay, great.
Ross says you should buy Ray a beer for being goofy.
Thanks, Ross. I don't drink, man. Go for lunch.
Okay, so and actually that was the last technique that I had planned to show. So for right now, for the next 20-25 minutes or so, we'll do a Q&A session. So I'll open up the floor for questions now, anything Kimura related. So it doesn't have to be about anything that we showed, okay, or even anything on the Kimura trap system. If there's anything that's related to Kimura, I'll be more than happy to dive into. So again, go ahead, put your questions there so that Big Don can relay them to me and answer them for you. And again, we do have time constraints, so I try to get them out there as quickly as possible, all right? Because if everybody starts throwing questions at the last minute, I might not be able to get to everybody's question. And I really want to be able to answer everybody's question.
Scott Wilson says he likes the new tweak. It gives the opponent less space.
Okay, yes, absolutely. That's, again, I have a lot of guys like Ray that are very athletic and they're scrappy. So I'm not faster than them. So I have to be able to pin better. And these new concepts regarding shoulder pinning has made a dramatic difference in control. Now, a lot of times I feel, even with the guys who are very good at Kimura traps themselves, and Ray, Jason, Devin, a lot of my guys who have been training for years now, they understand the Kimura trap system, they use it very well, but with these new tweaks, now the positioning's a lot stronger, and even against someone who's a veteran at escaping is now stuck.
Brian Casper says he looks forward to watching this again later and that he appreciates your time.
Okay, well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Brian. Okay, if nobody's got questions, write it in there too.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if nobody has any questions, then we'll move along, okay? And I'll go ahead and put the order link there. But I don't want to put it just yet. I wanted to see if anybody had any questions. If I did a fantastic job of teaching today and knocked it out of the park and nobody had any questions, also let me know, all right?
Peter Jeremias is asking to see some Kimura escapes.
Kimura escapes. Okay, that's great. All right, so we'll do that. We'll start off from, well, let me ask Peter, and you can write it in there also, Don. Okay. Is there a particular position from the Kimura that you have a hard time escaping?
meantime, David Gaschiola asks, at what point and situations do you ever bail out on the Kimura?
Okay, great question. As I said, in the past, when I lock onto a Kimura, I generally hold on to it until it's done. All right, which usually means the guy's tapped out. All right, but a few situations where Kimuras are done. A lot of times I get Kimuras from standing or when people are behind me. Like I've said before, if someone got me in a body lock, I shouldn't be going for this now. That means I screwed up because the guy got my back. And it's not a good idea to give someone your back so you can go for the Kimura. But a lot of times, or in some scrambles rather, I'll grab a Kimura and the guy will get behind me. I'm still good here, right? And I'll stay here all day. He can't hit me at all, okay? He can't submit me from here. He is totally neutralized, and I'm the person who has a submission opportunity, okay? Now, this is very different than, pull your elbow out a little bit, this. Right now, if you notice, his elbow, well, I still have his elbow a little bit, if you guys can see. If that elbow is sticking out, I still have the Kimura. Pull it out a little bit more. Yeah. Now, it's gone. This is time to let go. I've lost it. And me trying to fight for it more from here is a losing battle. And it's very rare where a guy has his arms out and I'm going to pull his arm out and get it. Right? So, as long as his elbow is leading, I hold on. And like a little sweep that, even for the knees here, I'll just stick my leg out, roll. Right? Roll. That scores me the sweep. And since I have the Kimura still locked down, he is stuck. And if you guys watched the Nimura, that's where I get it sometimes. Because when he's on his fours like this, I'll step in between, figure four, and then I'll start going there. Okay? So, again, regarding being on my back, that's a position I know that I have strong. If he's on my back, rather. If I'm on the bottom with a Kimura, let's say even half guard, closed guard, doesn't matter, and he is completely upright, like this is also a very weak Kimura. All right, his arm is straight, okay, his elbow is near out. If I can't make an adjustment real quick, holding on to this doesn't help me, okay? And especially we're talking about MMA, he could be punching me with the other hand, okay? And if the arm's very straight like this, I'm not getting a lot. Yeah, because if he's this upright, that means I didn't pin his shoulder, right? So I have no leverage here. And he could easily yank his arm out pretty much at any time he wants, all right? If I'm doing the Kimura, there's got to be pressure here. So there should be this, okay? So even without the Kimura, if he tries to rear up, okay, he shouldn't be able to get up. So usually what happened is you went for it and he sat up at the same time, like this. Okay, now I'm trying to bring him back. And sometimes you could salvage this. If I can generate enough pressure to bring him back down, I can reaffirm my positioning. Okay, so you might not let go of it if you feel you can do that. But if he's got a real solid base and he's upright, and particularly maybe even if his hands are more exactly like on the inside and he's upright, like this, and I'm just holding on to this, it's not really helping me, right? And I could get punished here. So that might be a good time to let go as well. Pretty much whenever your positioning has become inferior in the sense that you've lost control over your opponent and now you're just holding on to a grip to hold on to a grip. Like I said, when the guy's behind me and I have the Kimura deep, I feel I could still do things. I can go for the knee bars, I can sweep him, so I'm still working. And the important thing is he's not working. He's got nothing to do. Like in that last situation where I was on the top, he was on top, I was on bottom, he had a hand free and had a very limp, weak Kimura. he could be using that hand to attack me, and I'm just wasting energy holding onto that arm.
Mark Montero wants to know if you can Kimura with one hand.
Yes, you can Kimura with one hand. It's been done in the UFC, all right? Phil Davis, I got to train with Phil Davis, but he did that before I actually got to train with him. He had learned it from Master Lloyd, and this is called the one-handed Kimura. On your back?
On the back.
Yeah. If you remember when we did the high Kimura, okay, where I was here, okay, like this, all right. When I go shoulder crush, okay, I get that there. If I can't get the shoulder crush, okay, I'm using one hand, controlling his legs, okay, and actually, this is what Phil did to, I believe it was Tim Bosch, if I'm not mistaken. He did this in the UFC fight, so it's like more props, all right? But all it is, you have a Kimura, okay, and you have the grip really tight, okay, so that your hand that's underneath can actually lace all the way over like this. If you notice now, my hand is grabbing his own wrist. So if I can make this type of grip, he's pretty screwed now, okay? So I know with Phil, he's got really long arms, so it's quite, it's deceptively easy for him to do that, okay? But even if you don't have long arms, as long as you're able to close his arm in deep, then I can over grip like this. And when I grip here, again, I don't want just fingertips like this, because he'll muscle out of the fingertips, right? So once again, motorcycle grip. I bring my knuckles to the mat, okay? And you notice as I bring the knuckles to the mat, the submission is sort of coming. But I want to put as much, again, pressure on his shoulder. I'll put pressure here, here, and then I'll just, if you're in wrestling, it's like throwing a half Nelson. Here, boom. I'm just rolling like this. Elevating the elbow, pulling his wrist in, keeping weight on his body. So that would be a one-handed Kimura, a one-arm Kimura.
Stamatis Toptikos is asking if you can show a Kimura under the front headlock or from bottom turtle.
Okay, so Kimura from the bottom turtle. Once again, disclaimer, I don't suggest looking for a Kimura once you're down here. Okay, this is like somebody, unless you're like Eduardo Tellez that likes playing turtle position, you know, you are in a dangerous position, and I always think about fighting. So being in turtle is not cool in fighting, at least not in real fighting, because you can get soccer kicked, you can get knee to the head, all right? So like playing from down here is always a risky proposition, but it can be done, all right? So if I'm here, he's got a body lock where he's controlling me. And once again, what I want to do is be able to get behind one of his arms. If I can get behind his arm like this, okay, even without the Kimura grip, I have control of him. He tries to yank the arm out, arm is stuck. Okay, so if we're down here like this and he's wrapped around my body for whatever reason, okay, I'll just scoop behind his elbow. Boom. Okay. Once I got that, all right, he is that arm is paralyzed, and if you notice, I put all my weight on it. I crush it. Ideally, yes, I could make my Kimura here. Not always gonna be there though. He might be really tight. Like, yeah. So no Kimura yet. That's okay. I'm gonna do what they call in wrestling fat man roll. All right, which I'm just gonna roll on my side. I have this arm trapped. Boom. He has to roll. He has no base because of this arm. He's going to flip over. On the flip, there's a good chance that I can get here. Okay, because when he's on his side now, all my weight is on his shoulder right now. I'll go on my edge of my foot, okay, and I try to shift all my weight on his shoulder. Okay, so if he tries to get on top, he's stuck there. Okay? And right now, he's still locking his hands because I'll take some weight off. Okay? So right now, if he's smart, he knows this arm is in danger. Okay, so he might be locking hard. I still can't get the Kimura quite yet. But street fight situation, if someone can name me early UFC a guy who used this exact position to knock out somebody like so, boom, boom, okay, I would be very happy, and I'll send something your way. Okay, it's a little trivia. Here, crack, crack. Early UFC, I'm talking about, I think UFC 2 or 3, he scored a KO just from this position. Any answers there? No. Well, I'll let that roll in there, okay? But very strong control position. Even though it looks like I have nothing, I just have an elbow, okay? But because of where I'm holding him and because of my weight distribution, he is stuck, okay? So MMA, I can be banging out elbows, all right? But what I really want is for this grip to open. So in an MMA situation, if I landed an elbow, he opens his grip, boom. I go right to the Kimura, okay? And even here, I could tap him out. Again, I have to emphasize, all the weight's on the shoulder here. If I'm sitting on my butt, okay, he's going to come up with me. It's not going to really finish, okay? But I'm leaning on that shoulder, boom. And I could even wrist lock from here. If I couldn't get in, boom. Okay? Oh, I gotta give him a little massage, right? Because there's a lot of pressure.
My arm's actually dead.
Yeah. That's the emphasis. There's mad weight on that shoulder. If you're wondering, like, how he's down there, I'm literally leaning all my weight right on that shoulder. All right, so it literally gave him a dead shoulder. I cut the circulation off. All right, so it puts me in a position to attack the arm. Okay, come one more time. If he wasn't letting go, I'm going to shift my weight a little bit just so I don't kill his arm. I can always look to start attacking the hands. All right. If I see his grip, being legal, 4 fingers, and I'll start ripping, okay, and try to break. When I see an opportunity where the grip breaks, I can go either at the wrist, Kimura, or I could go over the knuckles. Like lock your hands. I start breaking. So I went 4 fingers. I rolled this way, okay, and if I can wrist lock here. He tapped there. He's probably going to turn hard the other way now. Boom. Got my Kimura here. And I could finish right there. Okay? And again, here, strong position. As long as you're putting weight on that shoulder. Okay? If he has a free hand, I would have to watch my neck. I wouldn't want to go like this. I can try to give him an angle on my neck. I would stay tight the whole time. Okay? To try to protect my chin. But if you didn't like being here, I could go to, again, Kimura is an option here where I can capture the leg, figure 4, and abandon the Kimura. Or I could just jump over the body, okay? From here, lean my weight on my head, come over, boom. Right this way.
All right, we got...
Okay, so that would be my approach for 4s. Not necessarily trying to catch the Kimura from your 4s, just trying to sweep them. And then, once you have the control from top, you can do what you want.
Got a few questions, but a couple people tried to answer your question. The first one I got was from Ross Fleming. Is it Remco Parduel?
Yep, you got it. Good job, buddy.
Sorry, Michael. He said Gary Goodrich about 6 times, but it just wasn't it.
Gary Goodrich is a crucifix from a high crotch, which is still a very nice technique, but it wasn't that particular position. Like if you Google Remco Pardo, you'll see that exact position, just the elbow, boom. It looks like he's barely holding on to the guy, but it's really devastating pin position.
We had a question from Caroline King. I'm looking for it. It was a little bit up there. It's what is the best way to escape the Kimura from the single leg takedown?
Okay, good question. All right. So, adjust the camera a little bit. When we came out with the Kimura trap, and I started showing the videos about doing the Kimura trap in the single leg, there was a problem. And that it was so effective that nobody wants to shoot single legs now, okay? Because everybody was getting caught in it. I know in my gym, we still have somewhat of a problem with that, because everybody in my gym is good at guillotine, they're good at Kimura traps. So it's very risky to shoot in, you know. You have to have a really well set up shot, all right? But if you go for a single leg and you do get caught, a few things you can do, okay? So one, I shot the single leg, I got here, and blocked it up. I'll release for a second. Just before that, if you shoot a head and side single leg with perfect form, the guy won't get it. It would be very hard to get the Kimura. What I mean, if I shot with perfect form here, okay, he goes to try to get the Kimura. He can't stuff the head, so he can't reach for the Kimura. All right? But why does it work all the time? Because nobody has perfect form. Whenever you shoot, generally people lean a little bit, and that's all he needs to do right there. He uses my momentum, stuffs my head in, done. Okay? But if you shoot with perfect form and focusing on keeping the upper half of your body straight, he won't be able to stuff your head, so he won't be able to come over you. All right? So if I come in here, boom, and if you notice where I put my head, reoccurring theme, on his shoulder, all right? Because if my head's low, it can come in. If my head is high here, first of all, his arm's in a weak position to push because it's all like bundled up. And I'm like this, it's easy. All right? His arm, tricep is strong here. Here, he's not. You know, and then from here, you know, I could finish, do any of my finishes. Usually people get caught in the beginning. And likewise, if your head's, even if your head's up but it's low, he can still get around you, all right? So keeping your head high will save you, and then two, try and keep in a close grip. If your hands are like wide open like this, you know, it makes it easy for him to come in. Even if I shoot ugly with my head down, if my arms are in tight, it'll be harder for him to get in. If I come in here, here it gets hard, you know? I've seen some guys, they'll go like this. All right, so they wrap there's other counters that you have to be worried about if you wrap like that. But Kimura won't really be there. Okay, so prevention-wise, close the space here, here, and ideally head up. Your head's up, you're protected in a lot of ways. The other thing is strikes, you know. If your head's down, the guy does a flying knee right there, boom, you're done, uppercuts, right? So when you stay in like this, you're in a better position, okay? You're away from the knees, which is probably the most dangerous weapon from that position, okay? Besides chokes and all other sorts of submissions. If you get caught in it, all right? From here, he's got the Kimura, okay? Then you want to weaken his Kimura, which is by straightening your arms. Here, okay? When I'm here now, Kimura is weaker, okay? And he won't want to drop back, because if he drops back right now, crank it, he won't be able to pull it out. When he falls, he'll break his own grip. If you're a good Kimura trapper, you'll know it. You'll feel the guy does it, you don't want to fall back yet, because you're going to lose it. All right, and then it's like a struggle to try to attain the grip, okay? So all it is when I'm here, he gets a Kimura grip, I want to punch my arms to the ground, keeping them locked here, boom. Yeah, easier said than done, but the key is got to be a pop. If I try to like slowly push him down, it won't work. He'll hold on. He'll be able to adjust to your gradual pressure and put his own gradual pressure to retain you. So if I feel it there, pop, boom, snap the arms. You snap the arms, you break the grip, and then you can continue your single leg. But ideally, if you snap the grip, try to bring your head back up, or try to finish fast, because you can keep recatching you. Even if I get here, he grabs the grip, boom, I break, and then boom, he grabs it again, because it's so easy to grab. Okay, so if I break here, generally I'll stay lower. Okay, like if I broke the grip and I know he's gonna keep hunting for it, okay, then maybe I'll go here with my arm extended, controlling the heel, other hand here, boom, dump. But I'll keep that hand that he's trying to grab away from him, but still in the position where it's beneficial for me. Okay, so that was countering Kimura trap from the head inside single leg.
Alright. Get to the questions here. Peter wanted to see from guard and side mount. What was his? Kimura escape from guard and side mount.
Okay. And what's our time?
We're at 9:40.
Okay, we still got some time. So, close guard. Let's do guard escape. Kimura. All right, he gets me the Kimura. Boom. Okay, and he gets all the way down, and he's got me here. Right, so I'm in a real bad spot. First thing you want to try to do is grab onto something. Grab my shorts. Okay, grab whatever you can. Because if I just stay here, he's going to crank. I'm going to be done. Okay, so usually your shorts are a safe bet. Now, this is like minimal defense. Better defense, I'm here, step. Okay, if I get my whole leg in there, now he can crank as hard as he wants. Okay, now what I'm doing, I'm putting all my weight on that leg. Okay, to kill the pressure. Okay, so by stepping in deep, that arm is done. Now, he can sweep, or he could try to sweep, right? But if you look, I have a wide base here. So I'll extend this hand wide. So actually my base is here, this knee in the middle, this hand out. And I'm keeping my arm locked. My leg is exposed there if he was going to like switch to something, but he would have to let go of the Kimura first. He lets go, boom, I'm gone. Okay, so again, he gets a Kimura, nice and deep, step, boom. Get behind your leg, and again, not only am I sort of hooked onto my leg, I'll grab my shorts as well, double back up, right? Now, I don't want to stay like, when I initially step and I'm here, I try to put a lot of weight in that arm, okay? Again, it's going to be tiring of him a little bit because I'm going to load up on him. But if that's not doing it, okay, I can start kicking back. Boom, okay, and try to stretch here, okay, which will go to a more powerful way of forcing myself out, is getting my head inside the grip, in front of his chest. Okay, so let's change the angle on that. So here, he attacks him on. He gets here, he gets in, step, grab, okay, pull. And now, when I expose him like this, I'm trying to get my head in this space. It's not going to be easy. You have to grind your head in. So don't lead with your nose. You want to lead with the crown of your head. And start pushing. Once my head gets in front, I'm out. I can stop him and square him down. And by the way, a good Kimura prevention from guard is to keep your head in his chest. Okay? Usually you get Kimura because you gave the guy an angle. Right? Like you pushed your head up, boom, he came up. If your head stays in the middle, he tries to Kimura. I use my head to block. Okay? It's really no good. It's actually bad technique to have your head on one side. Omoplata is going to be very strong. The Kimura, guillotine, all right, rubber guard is all very strong when you're off to the side. Okay, you always want to try like defensive grappling is staying in the middle, controlling here, and as far as neutralizing his hips, if you want to be really powerful, then you're up here where you're kind of beating all that. I'm on my toes, I'm very up, very strong posture. Makes it hard for him to work his submissions because my hips are over his hips. Okay, so that was some Kimura counters of guard. One last one. Again, he goes for the Kimura. Boom. This is my favorite one. Arm pin. Okay, all I'm doing. And this also works on people who are trying to stand up. They're particularly for MMA, when people are trying to stand up out of guard. Go ahead. you're doing the same thing as a Kimura, essentially. Putting a hand down, putting a foot down, trying to bring their hips out, right? So if you're smart, you pin there. I see him go for it, and you can grab my wrist and go for the whole Kimura action. Yeah, he goes for the Kimura. I'm gonna shoot my arm right in that space. If I get my hand through, Kimura's done. Okay. Okay, so again, he comes in, shoot, boom. Right there. And right now, I can use a fist. I could grab. The fist works because now he can lock the Kimura up. Okay, but I'll drive into him and put him flat. As long as my fist, Don, could you see if the camera's catching that?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay, so you see where my hand is right here. As long as it's in front, I'm good. He tries to crank, he gets stuck because he can't roll his body all the way through. Okay, and then from here, once again, I'm using my head. I could also use my chin here. Okay, here, so grind, get my head in. Okay, the other things I will do is work the legs. Let's reset one more time. Can I get a little close? Sorry about that. Okay, so I'll go for that again. Right, so he comes here, boom, boom, boom. He locks up the Kimura, but I have him pinned. Now I want to keep pressuring him the whole time. I don't want to just be like pulled away here. Boom, pushing in. I'm trying to get tight with him. Now he's gonna have a hard time keeping a close guard.
Yeah, I can't get.
Okay, like Ray is a little too short, and I'm a little too wide for him to get that. But some guys can, and if they do, you sprawl out a bit, you work your hips, and almost always you're usually able to step over into like a half guard type situation. Now you have to respect this position because if this arm comes out, I'm in trouble. Boom, done. So your main importance is getting that arm in. But once it's in, it's in. Because the way he's turned, all my weight and his weight is pinning himself. Okay? But usually people hold on because they're hopeful that you'll yank out or something. All right? So right here, if he's still holding, I step and I bring my knee over his elbow and I'll drive down. And if you notice, I'm Kimuraing him now. He has to let go. Once he lets go, okay, I still have the arm pin. Okay? He tries to yank out, right? I keep his wrist. You can see I'm holding on to his wrist here. Okay, and again, putting weight on him. And for MMA, very strong pinning position because I can really pound the guy out here. For jiu-jitsu, you can work your pass. There's some stuff I can kind of difficult to do, but it is possible to. I've tapped people out like that before. But more than likely, you're using this for ground pound or just trying to pass. Once I'm here, I'm keeping a lot of pressure on him, and I can work the legs, pass to the side. Put him on his back. Okay, so those are a few escapes from the the Kimura from guard. Actually, I got a few more. All right, so the other one is basic, okay? But when the guy goes to Kimura, I try to keep my posture strong, okay? And try to stay upright. Because if he falls back here, go ahead. And I'm aware of my posture, it's hard for him to crank. I go hard. Okay, and then usually here, go, crank. I can roll my wrist out. Not the ideal way to get out, but it is possible like that, okay? So, again, strong posture there will save you. What usually happens when someone grabs a Kimura and you fall like this, now, again, he has shoulder leverage on me. Hard position to work from here, okay? But if we come back in, if when he goes to the Kimura, I keep myself a little more upright, like this, first of all, my arm's straight when I put myself upright. So I take away a lot of leverage here. Okay, so when he starts to fall back, I have a free hand, and at this spacing, I can use my hand to push, break out. Because he didn't get shoulder to shoulder. His shoulder's on my elbow, right? When he gets a good Kimura, you see his shoulder's on my shoulder. My other hand can't get in there to defend. All right, but when I stay upright, like this, he's not shoulder to shoulder. You see his shoulder is now on my bicep. Okay, so this hand is in play, and I can start working to pull this out. Doesn't work all the time, but it's something to be aware of that can happen. And last escape, this one is the one that I told you saved me against Henry Gracie. They get a good Kimura, and you know you're done. I let myself be flipped into the mount. Because from the mount, okay, switch sides on the Kimura real quick. From the mount, he's going to get stuck temporarily by the ground. And he's going to have to try to make an adjustment here to finish. Okay? So it buys you some time. And plus the action of rolling over is going to create space. So ideally, when I roll myself and give him the mount, I'll try to get my other hand to start defending and shoot it underneath, okay, to try to lock hands. Or from here, I'll grab his shorts, okay, and then try to look to grab here, lock my hands, okay. A lot of people, if they get here, they usually give up on the Kimura and they'll just mount. They're like, okay, I'm happy that I scored mount, right? But essentially the roll gives you a second life, okay, because the fight is extended. That is, of course, last resort. You only do that if you can't escape any other way, because you are giving up the mount. And if this is a street fight or MMA, you are going to be in a position where he could get pounded out. But either fight ends in the guard or it ends in the mount. I'd rather fight end in the mount and bought myself a few more seconds to try to escape and win.
Ross Fleming asks, do you want to put the knee down on the ground when you are resisting the Kimura from the guard?
Okay, depends on which escape we're talking about. Come again here, Kimura. If you're talking about when I step, right? I mean, I've seen people do this and come here. That's fine too, right? The reason I use the step is just I cover more ground. If I get a louder angle, if the arm's really out and here, I can't reach my shorts. I can't grab my leg. I'm still in trouble. Didn't help me. Okay. So when I step, even though it looks like I'm putting myself off balance, I have this hand out here, okay, so that, I've extended my balance actually, because now I have a very wide base, contrary to what it may seem like. And plus it allows me to grab, because if he's here, this won't save me. This will. And once again, I can shift my weight. And now I can put my knee on the ground and pull the knee back, get in a little more comfortable position, sneak in, and break grip there.
Scott Wilson wants to know if there is a Kimura from bottom half guard.
Yes, there absolutely is. That is what we call the Kimura lockdown. And that is actually, there's a whole DVD dedicated to Kimura lockdown. And there's actually a couple new techniques on the Kimura lockdown on Kimura Trap System 2.0. Okay. Our time's a little short, so I don't want to go into that because that's going to be a whole other sequence, all right, which is essentially like starting from scratch. So I won't answer that here. However, Scott, if you get the system, you'll get to see all the Kimura Trap bottom game from half guard, which is what we call Kimura lockdown. What's the time?
We're at 9:54.
Okay, guys, so I'm going to cut off the Q&A session as it is right now. I hope that you have enjoyed everything on this webinar. Okay, so right now I'm going to post the links, okay, so that you can go and order the Kimura Trap System if you wanted to. Dom, if you could put it there. KimuraTrap.com/order. Okay, keep in mind, right now for the webinar, we're doing a special, all right, which is is going to instead the normal price for the Kimura trap system is $197. That's what it's been like for years. Okay, that's what it was when I sold out back in 2012, and it's been like that since I re-released it in at the end of 2012. What is new is that you're getting the full 6 DVD set. You're going to get access to the book, the Kimura Trap book, which is a 110-page book, which was previously only available to people who ordered the first time around. Okay, I've put it in an ebook format so everybody can access the book. You get the mind map, and I've also added now the Kimura Trap system online so that you'll get access to all the techniques both on the DVD set and the new updated techniques on the 2.0 edition will all be available online so that you can watch them. You can watch it on a mobile, on a tablet, computer, Mac, wherever you are. You can get access to the whole system online. Okay, and all that for today is only $167. This special is only from now until 8 a.m. tomorrow. After that, I'm bringing the price back to the original value, which is $197. The system will still be available to order. I'm going to leave it online indefinitely, but that special is only for right now. Okay, so go to kimuratrap.com/order. Okay, and you can order the thing. And Don, did you put that link out?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and on that page, you'll see there's an order button right below the video. And if you wanted some more information about the Kimura Trap system, you could just scroll down and you could see the whole story behind it. And I've actually added a bunch of testimonials from people that I got him to work with. Guys like Keenan Cornelius, who's been probably one of the most successful guys using the Kimura Trap system. You know, again, I mentioned before he hit Dean Lister with it. He also caught Lucas Leitch with the Kimura lockdown of rolling armbar. Okay, I also have Phil Davis, Dominic Cruz, Brandon Vera, Nigel Easton, a whole group of elite grapplers and MMA fighters who have put their reviews and their impressions so that you can check it out and see for yourself what the Kimura Trap system is about. Keep in mind, all this is still under my 30-day money-back guarantee, all right? Which, if you haven't heard of it, essentially, if for whatever reason you're not completely satisfied with the Kimura Trap system, if you don't think the techniques are valuable, you don't like any of the content, doesn't matter what the reason is. Within 30 days, if you don't like it, you just pack everything in a box, ship it back to me, and I'll issue you a full refund. Okay? Again, that refund applies to all the content, the online content, and the DVDs. So if you don't like it, you can just ship it back to me and tell me what you didn't like, and I'll give you a full refund. All right? So in reality, there's no risk. Okay? And in fact, you know, I encourage you, if you liked what you saw here, you're gonna love what's in the DVD set. Okay, it's a real game-changing system that hundreds of people have bought. All right, so I know you will enjoy it as well. And right now, at this price, it's the best price that you can pick it up for. Again, it's only $167 for the 6 DVDs, the book, the mind map, the online access, and the 2.0 techniques. And I'm going to continuously be updating the 2.0 techniques. All right, so right now I have it's just over 45 minutes of additional techniques and concepts, but I'm going to be continuously adding more. And this webinar is going to be on there, as also a previous Kimura Trap webinar is going to be on there as well. Okay, so I'm going to keep adding into it as I learn things and I develop new techniques. Okay, so that's why I like the online model. Some people asked about a hard copy. I wanted to do online because I wanted to be able to update and not worry about having to ship more DVDs or ship another DVD after I add a new technique. I want to be able to add them on the go. All right, because I'm always using this stuff. My guys are using it, so I want to give it to you as quickly as I learn it. All right, and obviously I've tested the stuff. So again, if you want to order or you want to learn more about it, go to kimuratrap.com/order. And Don, again, you can put that link one more time just so people can see it. Okay, and other than that, thank you very much for participating in the webinar. Thank you for watching the Kimura Trap System 2.0 webinar. If you want to get the 6 DVD Kimura Trap set, all you have to do is scroll down below to click on the banner which says kimuratrap.com/order. On that page, you can order the full Kimura Trap system and access it online right away, and you'll have the 30-day money-back guarantee to secure your order. So go ahead, scroll down now, click on the button that you see above, and you'll be able to order.